Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you're having a good day. Today we're starting the episode off on top of the bridge we built in the last episode, and I think it's really come together very well. Getting very used to having it now. I've done a couple more details here and there where I feel like I missed out stuff when we built it originally, and all in all it's going to be nice to have a straightforward path from our farming area to our farming area, and I think it's going to save me on rockets, especially because I am running a little bit low on gunpowder. I'm trying not to spend too many nights out without sleeping, and as a result I'm not getting that many creepers and we're not getting all that much gunpowder, which is a problem we will have to resolve in the near future. But for now, I think today we're going to focus on storage, because I am running a little bit low on storage space up here. Although it's not so much that I'm running low on space, you can see I've still got a large amount of inventory in each of these chests, but in order to keep all of my materials organized, I think it would be better to build a larger storage system, especially since most of the building we're doing these days seems to be over there in the industrial area. I think one of the best things for us to do is to set up a larger storage system over there. That way, whenever we want to progress on a build, whenever we want to build something new over there, we can just grab materials from a bunch of chests that are going to be nearby. One place where I really need to expand storage is in the stone department, because right now half of this chest is taken up by gravel. I have a shulker box of cobblestone sitting here, and the shulker box could very easily be used for something else if I had a larger system of chests, because I'm not taking that shulker box everywhere with me. Same goes for these decorative stone types. I've got a fair amount of granite and diorite now that I'm not using for anything in particular at the moment, and I've been doing a little bit of wood farming off camera so that we can grab some more materials for chests, because we're going to be making a lot of chests in this episode. Believe me, there are going to be absolute tons of chests, but again, we are running out of space in which we can store all of this wood, and I'm having to break it down into stuff like planks in order to store it. Yep, this one's overflowing too. There's a lot of overflow going on here is what I'm saying. And so, as a result, I think a storage system is going to be the best option for this episode. Not only that, but it will give me an opportunity to introduce you to the concept of automatic storage, or at the very least, filtered storage. So that is one of the things we're going to be focusing on in today's episode. For that, I will need a few very important resources. So we're going to start off by making a lot of redstone stuff. Hope you guys have gathered up a lot of redstone for today's episode, because it's going to be a pretty big project. Let's grab a little bit of the jungle wood from in here, and we'll need to grab some iron as well, because one of the major things we're going to be making, and yes, I've been using a shulker box to store bits of iron. This is kind of aspirational right now, because I kind of want to have a lot of iron in future, especially if we're going to be making beacons and stuff like that, but we'll get to that later. One of the things we will need to make a lot of is hoppers. We'll need redstone comparators and hoppers for this project, so I'm going to make a ton of chests. I'm going to make as many hoppers as I can with that iron, and we'll probably grab a little bit of extra iron out of here. And we're not going to be doing automatic sorting for the entirety of our storage system, because that would take a very, very long time and require a lot of resources to do. Resources which I do not have in huge supply right now. All of that iron is stuff that I have dug up manually out of the earth myself and then turned into blocks once it's all been smelted. But I think we're going to be doing automatic sorted storage for some of the basics, some of the stuff like cobblestone and gravel and smooth stone, maybe even some of the wood types, stuff that we are gathering in large quantities. And I don't know for certain if the wood types will even need it, because I'm just sort of gathering that when I need it, whereas with stone and things like that, I'm taking a lot of it out of the ground just to make room for other things. So we'll see. We'll see how this all goes, but we'll need to make ourselves a ton of hoppers and redstone comparators, which is a component I don't think we have built yet. At least I'm fairly certain we haven't. So I will explain to you a little bit more about how those work in a second. I just need to check that I've got enough resources for them. I've got some regular smooth stone. We will need some quartz as well. And yeah, we should be able to make some comparators out of that. More redstone torches will be required, and there we go. This is the recipe for a redstone comparator: 3 smooth stone, 1 quartz, and 3 redstone torches. Hence, all the redstone. We're going to be needing an awful lot of redstone for this. The last thing we're going to do before we leave here is we're going to take a stack of cobblestone, head over to an anvil, and rename this entire stack filter material, which will the use for this will become clear in a moment, but for now it's only going to cost you 1 level to name an entire stack like this, so it's pretty important that we do that now and that you give it a different name than cobblestone. Okay, I think we've got everything we need. Let's head over to the industrial area. So once again, I'm going to use this area here to demonstrate the concept for today, but then we're going to find a better place to build a storage system. I think it's probably going to be somewhere fairly central, sort of located near where we've added this bridge, probably around here, but there's a lot of landscape we have to remove in order to do that. I want to dig up some of this gravel so we have a firmer foundation underneath us, maybe get rid of this lake as well, even though that has been providing me with water for the last little while. I think it would be a good idea to remove that, just fill that in with dirt or stone or whatever we have handy. But now we'll use this area here to demonstrate what exactly it is we're going to do. Now normally when you direct a hopper into a chest, any items that you throw in the hopper will end up in the chest. For example, I'll throw a few extra chests in here, half a stack of polished andesite, some redstone dust. All of that stuff is going to end up in this chest. But with an item filter, the circuit I'm going to demonstrate today, it is possible to limit the items going into this chest to one specific item. So for example, if we wanted to just filter the polished andesite going into this chest, it would be possible to do that using an item filter. So the output of our system is already in place. We have a hopper facing into a chest. Any items that end up in this hopper will go into the chest. Now the next step is a little bit trickier because what we want to do is set up a filter above this. And to do that, we're going to place a block here and add a redstone comparator facing this way. Comparators are directional. Anytime you place one, they will be facing away from you. The output of a redstone comparator is here. And we'll get into the full uses of a comparator in a different episode because, as the name suggests, their use is supposed to be for comparing redstone signals that are being input on either side, where these little notches are in the texture. But redstone comparators also have another function, which is to detect the contents of something, or at least how many items are in a chest or a hopper, any kind of inventory that they're detecting like that. And one of the things you want to do is place the hopper facing into the redstone comparator like that, so the output of the hopper is facing towards the comparator. Now the comparator itself doesn't have any kind of inventory. In fact, if you right click it, it changes the comparison mode from addition mode to subtraction mode, which again is something we will get into in a future episode. But it's important to note that any items you put in this hopper won't be transferred into the redstone comparator, even though the hopper input is facing this way. The way hoppers work, they will actually transfer items downwards to a hopper below them if they cannot output to something on this level. In fact, it might do both. It might kind of, even if there was a chest here, items might be split between the lower output and this output on the left-hand side. But either way, what you've got here is a hopper facing into a comparator, and the items are just going to be dragged down through this hopper into this hopper and then get fed into the chest. This is stage 1 of our item filter. Stage 2 is going to involve running some redstone dust out of this comparator along these two building blocks. Because anytime items are filtering through this hopper, the comparator is going to output a small, faint redstone signal. So let's say we put some polished andesite in there. You can see the redstone dust here is lighting up, very faintly at the moment, but it is lighting up, which means the comparator is detecting items in this hopper and transferring power. Now, it's only going to do that for a certain amount of time because sooner or later, these items in the hopper are all going to drain into the chest, and this is going to shut off again. In fact, the comparator actually outputs a redstone signal strength that is dictated by how many items are in this hopper's inventory, and you'll notice the signal completely fizzles out when all of the items have been transferred. And what we're going to do is use this behavior to lock and unlock the input hopper for this chest, which basically allows you to control whether or not items are being filtered into the chest in the first place. And to do that, we're going to dig out a little section underneath here, and we're going to place a couple more blocks. For a start, we need one there, and that one will need to have a redstone torch attached to it like so on the right hand side of that block there. And you'll notice that when this happens, this hopper becomes locked, and if you place any items in there, they're not going to filter into the chest. This is because the redstone torch underneath this block is powering the block, and if you remember, if a hopper receives power, it's not going to allow any items through it. The hopper is locked. So the next stage of our item filter is going to allow us to place items in the top hopper here, create a redstone signal which turns off this redstone torch and allows items through into this chest. And for that, we're going to need some redstone repeaters, which is one component I forgot to bring with me. But luckily, I had enough resources to make a couple and bring them over. So we're going to place a repeater here, and the function of that is just going to be to boost any redstone signal that comes into it and power this block, turning off this redstone torch. The last thing we're going to do is place one more block there and place a redstone dust on top of it, allowing the redstone current to flow into this block, powering the repeater and switching off the torch. Now comes the interesting part, because now we're going to decide what type of item we want to filter here. We're going to use this polished andesite as the example, and we're going to put a full stack of it into the first slot of this inventory. Now you'll notice it starts to filter down. Before it filters down too far, we need to place one block of the filter material into each slot in this hopper, and you'll notice that once it gets to 41 items, that's actually going to stop filtering through the system, allowing 22 polished andesite to remain in this chest. Now, if we add some more polished andesite in here, each time it gets added to the hopper, it's actually going to keep filtering on through until we get a certain amount building up in this chest. What this now allows us to do is have hoppers collecting any polished andesite that runs over the top of them, like so, and filter it into this chest. And naturally, because of the way the system works, you will lose a certain amount of polished andesite in the system. That's going to remain in there, and that's why this system is ideal for bulk storage of items rather than for individual ones. Say, for example, you're storing something precious like diamonds, you probably don't want to have 41 diamonds hanging around in the system unless you've got an awful lot of spare diamonds. So that's why this is best for stuff that you're going to be acquiring stacks and stacks of, like wood, stone, dirt, grass, that kind of stuff. And now this hopper is locked against any other material you want to throw in it, because it can't collect anything other than polished andesite. This filter material is blocking it, and even if I was to throw some regular cobblestone in there, it wouldn't go through because it's not named filter material, and Minecraft will recognize when something is renamed like that. So the redstone dust that I threw in there is not going to go through the filter. Now, one of the best things about this system is that it is tileable, meaning you can place exactly the same circuit next to this one and it will still perform the same function. It will still filter all of the items that you put in there, and it will filter individual things next to each other. So I'm going to build the same thing here. I'm going to hopefully, I need another redstone torch or two. We'll pop that one down there, and I can probably build it all the same way. We've got the comparator, the hopper facing into it like so. Two of those. We need a space down here for another redstone repeater like that, and then we'll just put redstone dust over the top like so. And even though this redstone dust here connects and it looks like it's powering the filter system next to it, it won't generate enough power that it's going to activate any of the other filters. And that is why we have 41 items left in here. Because if we were to do this with another material, for example, there are items like signs or ender pearls or eggs that only stack to 16, which can make filter material that allows more items through the system. That's actually going to activate the redstone dust around here for a longer duration, which can end up filtering the items next to it. It's a bit of a complicated thing to explain rather than demonstrate, so maybe I can go into that a little bit later, but I don't have the materials on me right now. So let's set this one up, for example, to filter redstone dust. Like so, and we'll pop that in there. You'll notice that the items aren't filtering out of this one, even though the redstone dust here is activated. It isn't enough to activate the circuit next door. And in here we have redstone dust filtering into this chest perfectly. It stops at 41 items, and that's a pretty well set up filter. Now if we set up a row of hoppers on top of this item filtering system and place a few items in this chest here, say let's put some polished andesite and some redstone dust in, those are going to start flowing over here one by one, because that's how quickly a hopper will pull them out of this chest. And we put an overflow chest over here to make sure no other items go in. For example, if I put some grass blocks in there, those aren't currently getting filtered by this system, so they will end up in this chest. But anything that we put in there that is attached to one of these filters, for example, the redstone dust or the andesite, is slowly going to start filtering in through the system into these chests. And now it's done with the andesite. You can see it started to work on the redstone dust. Nothing is into that overflow chest just yet. And once this runs out of redstone dust, which I'm going to let it do artificially there, take a little bit out of that out, you'll notice that the grass block all disappears. It all starts to flow into this chest over here, and the redstone dust and the andesite are sorted into those two chests. And that is a way to automatically sort your storage. I hope all of this has made sense to you, and if it hasn't, of course, there's a lot of other tutorials about automatic storage that you can follow, which will probably explain this a little bit better. There are folks like Mumbo Jumbo, Impulse SV, Il Mango. Anybody who's worked with Redstone for a long time is probably going to have a better way of explaining this than I do, but hopefully at least this has given you an idea of what is possible with automatically sorted storage. And we're going to set up our own auto storage system over here in this world, along with a bit of manual storage for some of the items that I don't want to automatically filter. So we're going to build a section over here. We're going to, as I said, probably fill in this lake and remove some of the other landscape around here so we can make room for it. But that's going to be what we'll do in this episode. We're going to set up a nice big storage system for all of our items and tools. And after a little bit of building, I think we're all good here. This is probably the extent to which I'm going to build up an automated storage system for today. I don't want to go any further than this, and the main reason for that is that I'm close to running out of iron. The amount of hoppers required for something like this is really quite astronomical if you want to get beyond just the basic resources, and so I've decided to keep it at this, and this is the majority of the materials we will be getting, at least from this area. We've got cobblestone going into this chest here, and I have a second chest with an extra hopper kind of going into that, mainly because of the sheer amount of gravel that I have. I've got so much gravel that it's even backfilling the hopper down there and is ready to fill up this second chest. But what I figured I might do is have cobblestone, stone brick, and gravel as the kind of main building ingredients and sort of surface materials we'll find around here. Next up, we have the decorative stone type, so andesite and polished andesite if we want to craft that, diorite and polished diorite, granite and polished granite, and then dirt and grass. And the main reason for dirt and grass is because I just have so much of them from terraforming this landscape around here that I figured I may as well throw them in here. Now, you'll notice eagle-eyed viewers will see that this is actually coarse dirt instead of regular dirt, because I put the dirt next to the grass, and of course the grass spread over the dirt and converted it into grass. So just to clarify that this is the dirt chest, I decided to make some coarse dirt and place that down there. But since coarse dirt doesn't occur naturally in any of the biomes around here, I figured it was probably a safe bet and I wouldn't get too confused by that. Now, the next thing I want to do actually is place a few probably stair blocks or something like that over the top of this to conceal the row of hoppers, and so I can place another row of chests above that might be for items that are crafted out of the ingredients you see here. For example, having stone brick, stairs, and slabs in the same place as stone brick is going to make sense for the storage system, but they're not going to be able to be filtered by this item filter. So what we're going to do is put a chest above that for any of the crafted items, and that way I know if I want stone brick, but I also want stone brick stairs and slabs and so forth, then I can just come here and grab those. Same with cobblestone. Same eventually will go for stuff like andesite, diorite, and granite, where they have the wall, stair, and slab variants in the next update, Minecraft 1.14. As for the grass and dirt, I don't think we'll necessarily need those, but it might be nice to keep stuff like flowers and tall grass that I've sheared for decorative purposes in there as well. Maybe even stuff like leaves in the long term. Now, speaking of the long term, I probably want to do a similar size storage system, maybe on the opposite side of the room here, for stuff like the wood types, things like, oak wood and spruce and everything. The stuff that we will be harvesting in bulk, it will make sense to put over there. And we could also put over there a sort of smaller automated storage system for each of the precious resources. And now I know I said that it would be a bit of a pain to do that with diamonds, because then we would end up with a huge amount of diamonds and iron and stuff like that just like backed up in the system, where you have like 41 things stored in an item hopper. But I think I've figured out a way around that. And the way we're going to do that is by using eggs as a filter material. You could also use signs or ender pearls. This is something I mentioned briefly earlier in this episode, and I figure we may as well come back to it now. Because say, for example, we want to fill a chest with diamonds, but we don't want all of those diamonds to linger in the system. Let's set up our item filter as we did before. There we go. That is our item filter circuit all set up. And naturally, if you wanted to put this in as filter material, you wouldn't get any of those diamonds back if you're using filter material that stacks up to 64. However, if you want to use filter material that stacks up to 16, you will find that the amount of items you get out of that at the end is actually much higher, because items that only stack to 16 will trigger a comparator a little bit sooner. Now, right now, it's not going to do very much. I think the maximum amount of items we would save in here is something like 31 or 29, something like that. The maths on it is a little bit hazy, but the more eggs we put into this system, the more diamonds we're going to end up getting back out. And I think the maximum amount we can do is to put 3 eggs in each of these slots and 2 in this last one. A total of 11 eggs. We'll leave 1 diamond in there, so the contents will still be filtered. We'll get 1 diamond left in this hopper when it is locked, but we still get the other 23 diamonds back. And if we run this through the system again, you'll see them all drain away. Now, the problem with this is the problem with overflow that I mentioned earlier on in this episode, where if the comparator signal is too strong, it will actually start to filter the contents out of the next hopper along, because it's got too much of a high comparator signal coming from all of the 16 stackable items that can be put in this filter. So you can't tile it in the same way that you can with this system. It isn't able to produce a complete wall of chests like this. But what we could always do is leave a space in between them and build up a separate set. And we could still have the hoppers running across the top like so and just skipping one block each time. And you would end up with a storage system that will not actually keep all of the precious items backed up in the system. You won't end up with 24 or 41 diamonds stuffed in here. You will always end up with maybe, give or take 2, the maximum amount of diamonds that you can keep in a single chest. And not that I'm expecting to fill up a huge double chest of diamonds anytime soon, but we have been acquiring a decent amount of diamonds, so it's certainly worth using a system like this as an idea. Let me show you very briefly what happens when you do put these item filters side by side, though, with the 16 stacks in there. I might be able to do that with snowballs, actually, considering that I have a decent amount of snowballs on me right now. Now, right now, these systems are side by side. They're tiled, but we don't have anything in this hopper here. So I'm going to place in my snowballs here as filter material. We might even be able to do it like so if we put 2 eggs in there. And right now, this isn't creating a problem because the redstone signal here isn't strong enough to reach this piece of redstone at the back. But unfortunately, it becomes strong enough as soon as we put some items in here. So say we wanted to put redstone in here as an example. The comparator signal is now strong enough to power this piece of redstone dust as well, which means it's powering this circuit on the right-hand side. All of our item filter material has slipped out of this hopper down through the system and is probably still being powered for the moment. So all of the diamonds and eggs have drained into this chest, and now this hopper is completely empty and would receive any items, meaning that we'd end up with all of the items filtering into this chest instead of just the diamonds. Now, this circuit on the left-hand side has successfully set itself up as a filter for redstone dust, but then if we started to tile this, or if we tried to correct the problem with this item filter here, the same thing would happen. So that's why we end up leaving 41 items in the system and using items here that stack to 64. I hope that makes sense. That's a bit of a complicated explanation, but I think you guys can handle it at this stage. You guys have been following along with this series pretty well, so I think it will make a little bit of sense to you. But ultimately, this is the way you shouldn't do things if you want to tile it, but this is a good way to do things if you want separate individual cells of storage that's been filtered for items like diamonds where they're a little bit more precious and you want all of them to be accessible at once. But I think that's all we're going to have time for in this episode, and I'll continue working on the storage room off camera and probably just build it up to the point where we have a bunch of manual storage as well as this automated storage, maybe leave room for expansion so that we can have some more automated storage in future. But that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. My name has been Pixlriffs. Don't forget to leave a like on this episode if you enjoyed it, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.